Hello everybody, I am Dr. Aruna R, Assistant Professor in the Department of Life Science, School of Biological and Forensic Sciences at Kristu Jayanti deemed to be University, Bangalore, Karnataka. In this video, I will be discussing about the topic Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium in a most concise manner. So if we look onto Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg principle, it was proposed in the year 1908. And this principle was independently developed by G. H. Hardy, an English mathematician, and Wilhelm Weinberg, a German physician. So what is this Hardy-Weinberg principle? This Hardy-Weinberg principle is also known as Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. This is a mathematical model used in the population genetics. So what does this actually states? So Hardy-Weinberg principle states that the allele and genotype frequencies or genetic variation in a population will remain constant from one generation to the next generation in the absence of disturbing factors. So what does that mean? If there is no evolutionary forces like natural selection, mutation, or migration or genetic drift, if there is no evolutionary forces are acting on a population, then the allele frequencies like the proportion of the dominant versus recessive genes and the genotype frequencies like how many individuals are homozygous dominant or heterozygous or homozygous recessive, that is, the genotype frequencies also will remain the same from one generation to next generation. So this Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or principle, it acts as a baseline to detect the evolution. So before we enter into Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or principle, let us know some few important terminologies like what is an allele? An allele is an alternative form of a gene. It can be either dominant allele or a recessive allele. Then what is a genotype? Genotype is a genetic makeup of an organism. So it can be homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. Then what is a phenotype? Phenotype is an observable traits that we see in an individual. Next, what is a genotype frequency? Genotype frequency in a population is the number of individuals with a given genotype divided by total number of individuals in a population. Next, what is an allele frequency? Allele frequency in a population is calculated by dividing the number of times the allele of interest is observed in a population by the total number of copies of all the alleles at that particular genetic locus in a population. So a Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium of principle is calculated by using this formula, which is p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. So what is p? P is the frequency of a dominant allele and q is the frequency of the recessive allele. Now p square talks about the frequency of homozygous dominant genotype and q square talks about frequency of homozygous recessive genotype. Now what is this 2pq? So 2pq talks about the frequency of heterozygous genotype. So p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. That is, it will be constant if there is no evolutionary forces acting upon a population. If there is any evolutionary force acting upon a population, then these frequencies get disturbed and it affects Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or principle. To better understand the concept of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium or principle, let's consider a population of rabbits where coat color is determined by single gene with two alleles. Let's say capital F allele is a dominant allele responsible for producing black coat and small f is a recessive allele responsible for producing white coat. So, homozygous dominant and heterozygous dominant rabbits will have black coats and homozygous recessive rabbits will have white coats. Suppose the frequency of the allele, that is capital F, in the population is 0.6 and the frequency of allele, that is small f, is 0.4. Using the Hardy-Weinberg principle, the frequency of homozygous dominant, that is equal to p square, will be 0.36, and the frequency of heterozygous dominant 2pq will be 0.48, and the frequency of homozygous recessive, that is q square, is equal to 0.16. So in this population we can say 36% of the rabbits are homozygous dominant, which has a black coat, 48% are heterozygous dominant, which also has a black coat, and 16% have white coat, they are homozygous recessive. So this distribution is a best example of that the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, because p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1, that is 0.36 plus 0.48 plus 0.16 is equal to 1. So this distribution shows that this population of rabbit is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium only if there is no evolutionary forces are acting on it. Now let's move on to the assumptions of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. So ultimately, the Hardy-Weinberg principle models a population without evolution under following conditions. That is, the first condition is that the population should have no mutation. So allele must remain unchanged. There should be no new alleles introduced through mutation which could alter the allele frequency. And the second assumption is that it must have a random mating. That is, individual must mate randomly with respect to the gene in question. That is, there must be no preference for a partners based on the genotype or phenotype, ensuring there is an equal mixing of an allele. And the third assumption is that there must be no natural selection. So all genotypes must have equal chances of survival and reproduction. If certain genotypes are favored, allele frequencies will shift over time. And the fourth assumption is that the population size should be large. So the population must be infinitely large or very large in practice. So this minimizes the effect of genetic drift, which can cause random change in the allele frequencies in small population. And the last assumption is that there must be no migration or no gene flow. That means no individual can enter or leave the population. So if there is a migration will introduce or remove alleles, disrupting the equilibrium. So if any of these assumptions is violated, the population may evolve and the allele frequencies will change over time. So the Hardy-Weinberg model serves as a baseline to detect evolutionary forces at work. So from this we can understand that although there is no real world population satisfies all these conditions, still this principle offers a useful model for population analysis. So thanks for watching. I hope this helped you understand the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and its role in population genetics. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more insights into evolutionary biology. See you in the next video. Thank you.